Right?
And that's
we have we have to have an account that addresses the fragmentation into sects. Right? Like the sect that used the Book of Jubilees, for example, is if you're a male and you were not circumcised on the 8th day, you're not in. It doesn't matter if your mom's Jewish or your dad's Jewish. If you weren't circumcised on the 8th day, you're cut off from the covenant. Not only that, Gentiles, there is not an option for Gentiles to become part of Israel, because Gentiles are likened unto animals. This is in the Enochic literature too, a different kind of animal, right? If you're like the dogs, right? Or a donkey or a wolf or a pig, right? The idea is like, you're a pig and Israel are sheep. And you can't change, you can't magically wave a wand and have a pig become a sheep unless you're Shapira, who's like all about the kosher pig idea, whatever that is. But that's heretical craziness. There is no the idea is there is no purification option for an unclean animal. And if they're using the animal kingdom as a map of the world, and this is what's behind Acts 10, is this confrontation with this kind of map of the world where, Jews are like sheep and the other nations are like unclean animals. And that's not God's map, And so, here's another issue too. Now, we don't have a lot of surviving info about, for example, the Samaritans or in Judea, the Sadducees, in terms of how they would have, let's say there was a Gentile who wanted to join under Sadducean leadership. Let's just hypothetically say that the Sadducees would have a path for a Gentile to convert. And then you have the Pharisees had a path to convert. Do you think that they have the same path?
Right.
Pathway to citizenship, so to speak.
It's the same as Lois, right? Oh, well, you weren't baptized according to our sect, so you can't sit at our table.
We know it was a mess. We know it was a mess for a Gentile coming to the land of Israel, because Josephus himself talks about when he was a late teens, he went and studied with all these different groups trying to figure out which one of our people has the actual best way. And he ends up living under the customs of the Pharisees. Now, he never says, I became a Pharisee, but he just adopts their customs. But the point is, if Josephus, who is of a priestly stock, is like, man, this is pretty crazy. We've got all these denominations. And we have to also remember that the Jews were not in charge. Right. The last time there was a mass circumcision, it was forced circumcision under the Maccabean leaders who were expanding their territory, and they would, mass circumcise all the males, say you're now Judeans and pay up. You owe tax now. Yeah. You are Jewish now. And it had nothing to do with new creation heart. It had nothing to do with regeneration by the Holy Spirit. It had nothing to do with saying that this story of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is my story. This is my people, being grafted. It had nothing to do with that. It was political power and coercion behind that circumcision. And so if we just take Maimonides didn't know any of this stuff. Right. He's trying to codify the official Jewish law for all Jews everywhere. Why? Because in his day, why did he write the code Mishneh Torah? Because of confusion. He's like, all these people,
we all need to be on the same page. Yeah, exactly.
We all need. That's why he came up with the 13 principles of faith. Right? He's like, okay, everybody. He's trying to create a creed. He's trying to create a creed and then a code. And today, you have splits. You have people that are in the Orthodox rabbinic world. You have the pro-Maimonideans, right? They're like these Aristotelian rationalists. There's no, and the hardcore of those hate the Kabbalists. They think the Zohar and the Kabbalists are heretical totally. Yep. And then you have the hardcore Kabbalists that don't really pay attention to Rambam. Then you have the Chabad. And the Chabad they try to like be so smart with their mysticism, like, oh, the Rambam says this or the Mishnah Torah, right? Because they're trying to like be all embracing of all the Jews everywhere. And it's just frustrating. So
thank you so much for watching this video. Tell us your thoughts on this subject by leaving a comment in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and enable those notifications. And we'll see you in the next video.